What we are about to share with you, you've just heard about our country, Nigeria, where we come from, and our journey in search of hope, in search of making Nigeria a better country. In the face of challenge of Boko Haram, in the face of challenge of secession, in the face of challenge of conflict as a result of climate change, and so many other factors that is happening in the life of over 200 million populations. And in doing this, and in search for this, we have a story to tell you.
And before that, in Nigeria, we say we wish to observe all protocols. That is to say, the Lord Mayor of Leuven, the great professors and students, scholars, elders, people of Leuven, we are really honored to be here.
And very importantly, honored to be here with you all, to share our own story from hate to love, from vengeance to forgiveness, from enmity and hatred to the path of friendship. How are you able to get there? It's an important tool.
Yes, as you have heard, when Professor Yan was doing the introduction, all that came up on his slide was negative, negative, negative. But I'm glad he ended by saying out of that negativity came hope. And that is the hope that is aglow, which Imam and I and others in Nigeria have exemplified and are truly pushing that our country will change. We are on that path.
And of course, in the simple landline, the background is that we have a culture that says hate that is not transformed is transferred. Hatred that is not transformed is transferred. There is a conflict in our society, a generational unhealed historical memories of perceived injustices that happen in our communities, and some of our parents that could not process and transform that conflict, they transfer it to us. And we continue to hate the other, to create a division, and getting even militantly in doing so. However, to understand us better, maybe Pastor will tell you his background. Who is he?
Yes, thank you very much, Imam, for the opportunity. I grew up as a young, actually, I was born a Baptist. When I went to St. Augustine Catholic School in Kaduna, I became a Catholic. And as I grew up to be an adult, I visited my uncle to stay with him, and all of them go to Assemblies of God's Church. I became Assemblies of God's Church. And there, I now grew up at a point in my life to become a pastor, a theologian, and a pastor. So my journey is ecumenism, but from the Christian point of view. As Imam has said, I grew up to hate the Muslims in those days with a passion, a hate that was not mine initially, a hate that was transferred to me by my parents, hate that was transferred to me by what Imam called mischievous religious leaders who have hijacked religion in order to propagate what we call secular agendas, political agendas, resource agendas, propelled by most of those things that Professor Yan has enumerated about what is happening in our country. That is the little background I came from. And during one of those challenges, I lost my hand in the fight between my young people and the young people led by Imam Ashafa. That was the intensity of the hate we have for each other as young people.
One thing he didn't add, that he's the son of a soldier who grew his life from the barracks.
Well, barracks here is not common for people in this part of the world, I presume. But for us back home, barracks, soldiers are kept in the barracks. And during the Civil War, we lived in the barrack with my friends, and the act of war excites us. Our parents will go to war, and we will be mimicking them at home. Little soldiers throwing stones at each other, and even hurting each other, that we are also fighting war between communities on this side and that. It was a game of war, but some of us have injury as a result of that game. So Imam, of course, will tell you he was a purer person than me.
Wow. Distinguished brothers, I'm the son of an imam. My father is an imam. Imam meaning a spiritual leader. And in my family tree, we have no any other vocation than reading the Quran and translating the Quran to the community we live in. I'm in the 13th generation of this spiritual journey before I even become an imam. So what is important is that we have result of historical perceived injustices from the past, colonial history, and then some hurt we have done to ourselves within communities and our own ancestors. You have the good, the bad, and the ugly in every tradition. Am I right? We have the good, the bad, and the ugly in every tradition, in every professional callings. So within our religious circles, we have the good, the bad, and the ugly religious leaders. Unfortunately, as young men who are energetic in search of our identity, we fall into the hand of these bad and the ugly religious leaders. Instead of teaching me how to love, they teach me how to hate. Instead of teaching me the path of forgiveness, they teach me how to go into vengeance. Instead of teaching me how to extend my hand for friendship, they teach us how to grow enmity and hatred for the other. They didn't make us to see the positivity in others, they make us see the negativity in the others. Instead of rehumanizing the other, these bad and ugly leaders dehumanize the other and teach us how to dehumanize and remove the humanity in the others we live in. So we grow with this hate. The colonial authority, the British are no more there, but our brothers are always there. So they teach us to hate them. And we grow with the culture of hate as young men. And that leads us to fight. And as a result of those fights, I lost my spiritual teacher and two of my cousins. It was at the same spot. During those events, he lost his right hand. You may see him with two hands, but he will tell you how come about that hand specifically. This is the consequences when you have a bad leadership, a bad mentor who teach you how to hate instead of how to love. And the consequence of us playing an exclusive game in our own world.
Yeah, like I said earlier, my hate has no limits. But I must tell you today that I love the Muslim with a passion. You see, some people say religion is bad. Religion is not bad. It is who is on the driver's seat. We have scriptures in our text that tends to portray, and they are open to different interpretations. Some interpret it out of context. Some do not look at the context for which the scriptures come. So we use the scriptures to promote hate. I know as a Christian evangelical, we have nothing to do with the Muslims. And if ever I meet a Muslim young person, it is confrontation. Now, I wish I knew that earlier. I wouldn't have lost my hand in the fight, and people wouldn't have done. And then we begin to ask ourselves now, what will Jesus do if he were here in Nigeria? Corruption, kidnapping, all those evils that he brought, baby factory, all those terrible things you hear in the Western news. It is not entirely gory as it is painted. Good things are never told. Imam will say, as most of you who are journalists say, when a dog bites a man, it is not a news. But when the man now begins to bite the dog, it becomes news. So good things are happening, but the bad are always noisier. The bad always shout, and the bad makes the news. So from this background, Imam and I are going out to correct these things. With the Boko Haram, we have talked to bring them back to sanity. The kidnapped girls of Chibok, Imam and I have worked with their parents and some of them. So one will say, with all this, which way forward, Imam? What is the hope for our country?
The hope for our country lies on the moon. I thought the hope is for you to prepare for war. Until I went to the mosque one day, and the Imam was talking about the power of forgiveness. He's saying the topic is turning the enemy into a friend. And I was in the mosque, turning the enemy into a friend? How can my enemy become my friend? And the Imam continued on the pulpit to say, your Prophet Muhammad has one important gift for the world. He used the culture of forgiveness. And as long as you do not embrace the culture of forgiveness, there is no future for you. You cannot be true ambassador of Islam. And my heart as a young man is to be an ambassador of my faith, of my traditions. How does he make it? We say we should fight, jihad, go, maim, kill them. That was what we are taught. How does it happen? And the man suddenly continued to preach, and he looked into the scripture and said, read, look at the practical life of Muhammad, how he moved from place to place, persecuted, humiliated, but extended the seed of forgiveness. So go and learn how to do that. Only then can you be true ambassador of your faith. And that began my turning point. Began the journey of my life to have a turning point. And that turning point, I was crying because for losing my own two cousins, I identified James Group. And I've met James for the first time inside the government house. We went for a different programs. He is invited by the government, like the mayor invited people in the city to come for an event. These guys, all the interest groups came, and we are there. And a journalist friend of mine, and his friend also, during tea break, hold me by hand and held the pastor by hand and say, hey, I want the two of you to talk. I know you can keep the city in peace if you want. Please talk. Immediately he put our hands together, he walked away. My heart is beating. This is the guy, this is the enemy. So I collect his contact, we exchange contact, and I said we're going to meet again. So he moved and I moved. But hoping, I told my friends that I've got the enemy and I've got the contact of his office, but we are trying to trace his house so that we can revenge. And that was the moment I came to the mosque and I met the Imam, and the Imam was talking about turning the enemy into a friend, and I embraced the culture of forgiveness. I have to come back to my community and tell them what has happened. And the youth in my community, when I told them, look, it's time to move, what happened? They become divided into three. When I say, Pastor James, we make friend with the Christian, no, we can't make a friend with them, they are the enemy. And I told them that Muhammad has forgiven in Taif, he forgiven Mecca, he forgiven Medina, why can't you forgive? It's like people think I'm crazy, you know. The youth become divided into three. Some say I'm compromising our values. The third group says you are becoming a traitor. What the last says, That is the ideal thing. But those who see me doing the ideal, they are the silent majority. They are not super active, they cannot talk in public space. So those threats come to my life, including fatwas. And I continue to have the courage to continue until the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs sat us down and confirmed that fatwa was null and void. I'm doing the right thing, a true ambassador of Islam, promoting the culture of forgiveness and compassion. That was my turning point. That was what put me together into this track across my own community. But Brother James, I have to tell you something. Is it easy when you have your turning point?
As he has said, he just said it succinctly. He didn't elaborate. When the main fatwa means the young Muslim boys in his community thought he is conciliating too much, and they wrote pamphlets, papers, and went to one of some mosques in the city of Kaduna and littered the pamphlets so that anybody that sees Imam can kill him, and that Imam's blood is legitimized to be killed. That was the danger of moving away from hate into friendship and reconciliation. On my side, Imam had his turning point a few weeks after he and I met at the government house in the Kaduna city, where we were all invited to be enlightened on how we can go back and tell people to bring their children out for immunization against poliomyelitis, the 6 killer disease. And the program was organized jointly by UNICEF and the Office of the Wife of the Governor of our city. Now, he moved earlier in his healing, but it took me 3 years to process the anger, to process the pains I was carrying. And there was this day, Imam and I have started working. 3 days, 3 years, I was nursing the ambition one day to kill him. And there was a day in the city of a village south of Kaduna. It's a town. We went there to talk to young people. We have started talking to young people to forgive and to let go their pains. We shared a room because there was no more room in the hotel. This particular night, I was tempted to use a pillow to suffocate him while he slept because of the pains I was carrying, because of the unhealed memory I was carrying, and because of the mark of losing my hand. I thank God that I did not yield to that voice that said I should kill. Rather, I yielded to the voice that said I should forgive. If not, Imam and I wouldn't have been standing here today. And as I know, many people carry pains, as we also carry pains.
These are the journey we carry. And the most important thing in our journey of our life, we learn one shared values. What we call the golden rule. Loving for your brothers what you love for yourselves. It's a golden principle. Yes, some people have abused religion. They have hijacked our identity, our religious identity. They commit atrocity in the name of religion. Either it is Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Shinto, Confucian, Taoist, Zoroastrian. Mention them. People have used in one way or the other, have hijacked the identity of this religion and commit atrocity, what we call identity theft. The same applies today in the world we live in our professional institutions or social institutions like democratic institutions. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly politicians. The bad and the ugly politicians who hijack our democratic values to commit atrocity or divisive political process in the name of democracy. We have people who have abused our economic, financial institutions, messed it up steal their identity as CEOs, use greed they are possessed with, and at the end of the day, many banks, many multinational collapse because of what? The greediness of some few CEOs in our institutions. So every system can be abused, every system can be misused, misdirected as religious institutions. However, I realize that religion has never taught me to hate. It never taught us to attack or to dehumanize the other, rather to serve as a meeting point to unify humanity. Not only do I see that clearly, St. Egidio community have, as a religious institution and movement, have worked on the path of peace, building bridges across the African continent. Their work is a landmass in Africa where faith-based communities come together to add value to the dignity of the human person, building bridges across our divided communities. But I know Pastor may have a message before we open up for Q&A, because it's much more better when we engage with you. Ask us any questions. Don't feel shy to ask questions. I hope we will have received more questions.
You see, Nigeria is a highly religious nation. You can market anything in Nigeria using religion. Every corner of Nigeria has a church or a mosque. But we keep saying it is one thing to be religious and another thing to be godly. If Nigerians entirely are godly, some of the things you see in the news, you wouldn't have seen it. But we have come here to say that if we join hands together as citizens of the world, as young people sitting out here, that you think globally before you act locally. I will give 2 examples before I stop. Is to say, in Nigeria, we react to everything. When there is war between the Israel and Palestinians, Nigerian youth are divided into 2. Some see every fight in the Palestine, every Palestinian is a Muslim and every Jew is a Christian. That is the myopic understanding of what is happening there. Somewhere here somebody did a drawing in the Danish cartoon. Nobody died in Denmark, but over 200 people died in Nigeria because somebody drew a drawing in Denmark. That is how we are very sensitive about religion. We can kill and we can save for religious purposes. We want to ask and we challenge the young people here. You will be leaders, you will be prime ministers, you will be mayors. Anything you want to act here, please think of the global south, Africa, because sometimes we do not know how to process our anger. We ventilate it on perceived friends of the cartoonish or friends of the leaders in retaliation. People died in northern Nigeria, some reacted in southeastern Nigeria by killing others also. So sometimes something will happen in the south, there will be reaction in the north, sometimes in the north, but it got across the Sahel. Please, when you grow, and some of you are grown up already, help to act, to think globally before you act locally, or some people will die elsewhere and you will be safe. Who started that? So let's respect our differences. Let's accept our differences. Imam and I are friends, very close friends. But let me tell you one thing. He holds to his faith tenaciously. I respect him. I cannot change who he is. I hold to my faith tenaciously. He respects me and he knows that he cannot change me. What we do is that we accept, we don't tolerate. Tolerance connects negativity. But when you accept the differences, you will not see the bad in the other. You will see the human being in the other. We have agreed that we are global human citizens and we have to love people, love humanity without hate. This is our resolve.
So for every man, for every personality, for every community, for every race, for every language, for every culture, you have a unique gift that you are bringing to the center. For only together can we make the world a better place. These are the stories we'll tell the children. And when they go, they know that they are uniquely different, but together they make the whole. These stories we tell to those young children, and they're able to understand that, yes, and even though he's different from me, he's my brother, he's my sister, we need to work together to make the world a better place.
So, in times of the conflict we have, which is ethnic and religiously motivated, we need to educate from kindergarten, which we are already developing materials to train young children from the ages 3 up to ages 5 with pictures about the other. Then this next level is what we do also in secondary school, where we set up peace clubs for the two religions. And gradually in the universities, we have also a level of peace ambassadors, peer mediators, where we have developed training manuals for them from the two religions that is mostly practiced in Nigeria to learn about the other. And our center was also called upon by the Ministry of Education in Nigeria, particularly in Kaduna State, to develop curriculum for teaching peace education in the Christian religious knowledge, Islamic religious knowledge is a course within the secondary school, what you call high school. So important, yes, we have to educate people, women, men, young women and young men to carry this even in our places of worship. It is important for me to tell my followers about Islam positively, inclusive theology of communication. How do I talk about Islam without putting Islam down? How will he talk about Christianity without putting Christianity down? How do we promote the good values on our religion and also ask people to be cautious of the bad values that people promote negatively? All they have, actions people take, they take it in the guise of the religion and they promote it negatively. So I want to say education is important and we are trying to do that. And I hope here also the theologians will also begin to look at how they can understand the religion of the other in order to help.
When we talk about compatibility between religious institutions or religious framework and modality or secular modality in the world today, absolutely that's the right thing to do. And we are looking into the world where that most of the challenges we have today, we have people, because to be religiously upright, to be able to apply, not only knowing the religion, but knowing the contextual framework of your own society you live in. Where do I live in? Where am I coming from? Where am I heading to? How can I apply, because religions have an instrument, some ethical norms and values that you can apply in any given context. Some of our scholars today that create the problem we find ourselves in, and those who have stolen, apart from those who have stolen the ideology, the bad and the ugly religious leaders, some of them have knowledge. They live in the archive in the 7th century. Some of them live in the 2000 BC, Christ era, when they live. But those instruments, that how to contextualize those instruments in the reality of today we live in the reality of the economic system we have today is different with the economic system we have in those days. The legal framework of our engagement today, there's some variation with what we have in those days. How can we have scholars who understand the context of our society as it is today and be able to transfer those instruments, those valuables, interpret them in the reality of the contextual framework of our society we live in today? These are some of the challenges. That's why any small imams, the Google imams, they give a wrong fatwa, living in 21st century. Are you getting the point clearly? Example, e.g., a woman cannot drive a car. This is 21st century law. How can a lady not drive a car today? Are you getting the framework? And so many other factors that goes along that tracks. So what you are saying is absolutely right. We are looking into that, and we've been calling to say there's a need for what? For religious leaders who are giving judgment, jurisprudent verdict, to be able to review, to see there's some elements that need to be reviewed and its applicability in the contextual framework of what we live in today. This needs to be done, and it's a fact. And many scholars have been working on that. Fortunately, for example, issue of climate change. How can as religious, what role, what contribution? This is what Santegido is doing a long time ago. How can you move outside the box of the pulpit into the social framework and be able to engage? Are we getting the point? Can religious leaders engage in public discourse with the mayor on some legislative policies that will enhance the future of this city and make it much more inclusive, that 171 representatives of 171 countries will see here a second home, even if not a better home than the previous home, without them losing their homes, but being part of this culture of living, respecting the dignity, the laws, and legislative policies of the people here. How do we get there? So these are some of the important things. And I believe we work together and we say we can be part of everybody, at the same time be ourselves. That is the journey. And not only on religious leaders, including our politicians, it's time to start thinking of saying, how can we think inclusive? How can we have inclusive political system, inclusive policy frameworks that will be inclusive of all, at the same time be who we want to be? Do no harm. That culture is what we needed. And I believe it starts with each and every one of us here to say, I will do no harm to my neighbor, whoever is my neighbor, my colleagues in the classroom, my colleagues in the hostel, my colleagues in the dormitory, my colleagues in my workplace, my colleagues in my neighbor where I live. How do I relate with him? Let him say something about me. And you feel that he's going to say a good thing about you because you have done so much good. That is the future we are looking into.
And in my tradition, which is the Christian tradition, there is a teaching about if I will eat meat, and by eating this meat, my brother will fall short of the glory, and my brother will sin and will feel hot. I should not eat that meat. I can eat it some other time. That is the principle of do no harm. It might be as easy as eating meat or drinking water, and when I take that water, it's offensive. It says, for the sake of my brother or sister, I should not do it now. So whatever you do no harm. And I want to say that if religious leaders are trained like Imam and I, they can fight Boko Haram and they can stop Boko Haram. Most of the values, Imam and I are also projecting religious anti-corruption bill. We have written a pedagogy, it just came out, on how religious leaders can fight corruption. So the frontiers are many, and we believe the energy in religion, if it is turned over, it can impact a greater change in Nigeria and Africa. It is only in places of worship that, you see, we are very active churchgoers in Nigeria. We are very active mosque goers in Nigeria. Imam has over 2,000 people praying with him every Friday if he's in the town. So whatever he says to 2,000 people, you can do advertisement using the church and the mosque to bring quicker changes. Boko Haram cannot be defeated by gun. It's ideological war. You need new imams. You need imams with superior argument to fight Boko Haram. Even the kidnapping ongoing, even the fight between the farmers and herders, ecological war. How do you save your nation? How do you challenge climate change? Religious leaders, if given the platform and the training, can bring quicker change in the global south. Here in the global north, I don't know whether you go to church a lot or you go to mosque a lot like we do in Africa. But in Africa, on Sundays, the streets are empty. Everybody's in the church. On Friday, the street stops between 12:30 to 2 because everybody is in the mosque. So the energy to change the narrative about religion positively is in the hands of religious leaders. And that impact is faster when we say it on Sunday, when we say it on Friday, when we say it on Saturday for the Jews. The message goes faster and quicker. So this is what I want to say. Our impact is felt a lot these days, and where the momentum is heightened every day. Thank you.
And you can do that better here in Belgium. You can be the same architecture. It's not about religion. Even in the secular world we live in, we have opportunities to make it. Belgium, you are the cradle, you are the heartbeat of Europe. Somebody say, Belgium is what? The heartbeat. This is where Europe meets. This is the melting pot of all European culture and civilizations. So automatically, you are a mini universal village. And for you in the university here, universal city, that is called university, universal city, a little of everything in the world is here within your framework. It means you are a global citizen. This is the International United Nations, your own UN Assembly. You can make a world a better place. You can put it to test, and the world will see diversity in action. No wonder a philosopher says, civilization, people are civilized. How do you measure people are civilized or uncivilized? And he put a word. He says civilization are measured by diversity retained and unity attained. Civilization is measured as positive civilization, as great civilization, by diversity retained and unity attained. It means Belgium will be a greater Belgium when people with different color, with different skin, with different worldview, with different outlook, with different orientations, were able to work together for the common good of this nation, and common good of Europe, and common good of the whole world. You are proud to be Belgian. You should be proud to be European, and you should be proud to be global citizen. It is the being global citizen, getting there, that makes you all complete. When we're Belgian, yes, we are, but we are still. Even in Belgium, are you from the north or from the south? It's something else. Then even from the south, what part of south are you from? It's also, when you want to go down, this is how you go down. Even in your community, how close are you? It sinks you down. So that's why it is more important to be a global citizen. Being yourself, members of your family, proud to be your family, proud of your community, your city as Louvain, be proud of this, and then be proud of your nation as Belgium, and be proud of your region as European nations, and be proud of being a global citizen. When you put all this level together, then you are great. This is the missing link. It's not about religion, not about a political orientation. It's about humanity. And to be better human, adding value to the being is ability to connect with one another. Today, yes, look at my skin, look at the skin. If somebody happened to me, they need a blood to help me out, they may not ask what is my blood, what is color of my skin. They ask for what? The blood group. Am I right? What is his blood groups? Oh, he's O positive. Yes, you can serve him. Oh yeah, please get the blood, get blood. When I donate, it goes to his body and he comes back healthy. True or false?
That's right.
So it is. So the world we needed is a world where we should be able to see beyond the color. Thank you very much for that.
Yes, sir.